Hello, I'm Chris. Welcome back to Marine Corner. Hope you're doing well and having a good week so far. This is a tag video. I'm not sure who the original was done by, but I was tagged by Mike from Bibliophile Bookscape. I'll tag his channel down below. It's very much worth watching. I think he's a great guy and a great YouTuber. He does his research and he reads some really interesting books. So he's definitely worth watching his videos. I think he's only going to get better as he goes on. So this is the Trick or Treat book tag. I don't have any trick books with me. I'm going to start with those because I feel like start negative and go positive. I'm going to go with... I've got 5 I've picked. The reason I don't have... I only have 2 of them. 3 are library books, but the other 2 are in a bag to go to the charity shop when we go next. So first up, I've got Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I thought this would be a really cool book, and I like the premise of the book being like an IKEA catalogue, but I just didn't enjoy it and didn't understand the hype about the book. It's not one I'd reread. I'm not sure if I'd read any more Grady Hendrix. If I came across a book, I might do, but after that, I'm not sure. So that's my first trick book. Is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. Next up is an author I read 3 books of this year, but only one I really enjoyed. The other 2 was not great. So the first up is Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I was recommended this by my partner. She read it. Well, we read Silent Patient, so she wanted me to read it to see what I thought. I just didn't enjoy it. I thought the book was obvious. It was very similar to the first book that he did, with the premise of the book. Not necessarily the premise, but the plot twist seemed pretty similar to the first book, so it wasn't great, and I kind of figured it out very early on, and my partner couldn't really say, obviously didn't want to spoil it for me, but didn't want to give anything away. But when I figured it out as early as I did, I don't think, it was kind of obvious to me, so it just wasn't great, especially after how good The Silent Patient is. I'd reread that book tomorrow, to be honest with you, out of his books. And the third one would be The Fury, which is also by Alex Michaelides, which was, to me, even worse than his Maidens. I just didn't like any of the characters, didn't care about any of the characters, wasn't really interested in the story or anything. It was just a disappointment, but again, my partner read it and then forced me to read it, so we could discuss it, which I'm quite happy to do that because I think it's quite good to discuss books, especially if somebody likes it. I mean, she didn't like Silent Patient as well, but it's I think it's interesting to find out if somebody liked it, why they liked it, or if somebody didn't like it and I liked it, why didn't they like it, sort of thing. But yeah, it just wasn't a great book. So yeah, so I wouldn't read any more Alex Michaelides, to be honest with you. And then in 4th place, I've got a couple of non-fiction books for tricks now. So I've got Lords of Chaos, which is a book about, like, the start of black metal and stuff like that, which would be okay, but I wanted to hear, like, the bands that were in this genre, or how they made the music and stuff like that. Not necessarily, and a bit of the ideology, but more focusing on that element of writing that was about the bands, that was about where they, like, how they recorded the albums, and more that kind of depth into that sort of stuff, rather than the ideology of all the church burning and all that sort of stuff. So I found it a struggle because it just found it like it was very constant, and there's a lot of homophobia in there, and just things I agree with. So I was looking for more of a music book, a book about the actual music than not about the music. And then next up, I have put in the fifth trick book. Is Girl in a Band by Kim Gordon. I like Sonic Youth, but I just didn't enjoy this. I found it was very much... There was a bit of backwards and forwards with it. It wasn't like for a non-fiction book that's about something that happened. It was very much, oh yeah, because this happened, and then, oh, it's like that happened, but it takes you back to where, oh yeah, but we've read about that. And it just, for me, it just didn't really gel along for a non-fiction read. And that's why that's on there. So that's my 5 tricks, because I don't know if I said at the start of the video, but it should be 5 tricks and 5 treats. I've got a few more than that to talk about. But I'm going to go into my treats now. So I don't have copies of everything because I've been quickly going round looking for books, because I have recently had certain books out that I don't know where they are now. So the first one up is White Noise by Don DeLillo. Is a treat book. It was recommended by, I don't know if it was recommended by, but it was on his channel. Let me think what it's called now. I can't think what it's called now. His channel. It's gone. I can see his face. I can't see his channel name. I'll link him below anyway. I can't think of his name. It's gone. So yeah, White Noise, is a really good book. It's about a couple who got together and they've got kids from previous marriages, and you find out their story on things like how they, who belongs to who, and there's a lot of white noise, like the radio in the background, and they're thinking about like death, and but it's just such a really good book. It's a lot better than I expected, and I can't find it because I don't know whether I've put it somewhere to reread or what. But yeah, it's such a good book, and it's to me it's really interestingly written. And I think it's really cleverly done with the white noise that comes in and out of the book. But yeah, such a good book. I definitely recommend it. Next up, I have got the next 4, so I'm going to talk about them and show them, obviously. Next up is Breakfast of Champions. This is by Kurt Vonnegut. This is usually the book I read. It has been, I don't know how long, really, this has been happening, but it's usually the first thing I read each year. I really enjoy it. It's kind of like a bit satirical, and also quite sad, and a bit melancholy, I suppose. But it's kind of about a guy who owns a car sales room, and a guy who writes novels, and they kind of like meet, and then it's kind of they're both on the way to the same meeting at the same meeting point. There's more to it than that, but it's just such a good book, and I don't want to say any more than that. But it's such a the writer's called Kilgore Trout, but it's such a good book. It's one I recommend. I can't wait to. It's usually New Year's Day, and I'm tucked up with this every year, so that'll be my read for next year. Next up, this is Dennis Lehane. I don't really like movie covers. I didn't realise this was a movie cover, but so what? Oh, well, my partner ordered me. I was like, I mentioned it, and then she ordered me a copy of it, which I thought was amazing. She is amazing anyway, but yeah. So Mystic River, such a good book. I've not watched the movie. I hadn't watched the movie. It was interesting, really. There's like 3 kids, and then obviously they grow up. And then a daughter is one of the daughters is found murdered, and then they have to figure out who killed the girl. I did figure out who it was who killed the girl, but it didn't take anything away from it. It was such a good read. You just wondered how it was going to end, and I just didn't want to put it down at all. And this was recommended to me via... Oh, sorry. Breakfast Champions was recommended by Matt Wall. And then this one was recommended by... What's the channel's name? I can't remember the channel. I'll link it below. It'll come to me. Brian Lee Durfee, anyway. That's the guy whose channel recommended. It was in one of his lists. I was like, I really need to read that. I kept looking for a hardcover of it because I thought that'd be cool. And then, like I say, I got this copy. But yeah, such a good book. I definitely recommend this. That's that. And then, so next up, I've got my favourite book. Probably one of my favourite books. It's getting up there. I do want to do a bit of a list of favourite books again, because I feel like last time I made it, there's so many books that have entered it, like Mystic River, White Noise. This book, I read it twice last year, and I've read it once this year, and I'm still considering reading it again before the end of the year, and that is, of course, John Williams' Stoner. I love this book. It's about a guy who's a farmer. He comes from a farming family. A farmer, yeah, I suppose he is a farmer. And then his parents decide he should go to college to learn how to do better agriculture, so like work the land better, stuff like that. And he then becomes an English major, and then becomes... He becomes a teacher, and then he marries a woman, and then it's his story. But I find there's so much... There's like so much... Like, he's so human. He's so like human. He's so... I don't know what the word is, but he's like... You can imagine... I don't know. He just seems like a normal character. He's not... I don't know how to really describe it. I feel like I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but he seems like just a normal guy, and I'm like reading this and I'm like, wow. I don't know, I just really relate to William Stoner, and I think it's just such a good book. And honestly, I read it twice last year, and I'm definitely considering reading it again, or maybe having those two as my reads of the year, along with this next book as well, because I love all three. I love all these treat books. Now, the final book, there's a bit of a story on to how I got it. So, I had an exam on in Manchester, which is near me, and it was like, if I fail, I don't want to spend a lot on books. So if I just buy one book in this shop, then that feels like, well, you've got yourself a treat for doing your exam. I did pass my exam in the end, which was good. But yeah, but the book I got is phenomenal. It's probably my favourite book. I feel like my favourite book. I feel like my favourite book at the minute has so much change into what's my favourite, but this is definitely up there. And this is a book I reread all the time, a lot as well. In fact, all these, apart from Mystic River and White Noise, which I've read them both this year, the rest I've reread. So that's Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This is such a good book. It's about a guy who's a fireman. Now, a fireman now in this book is no longer a man who puts fires out, but he's a man who starts fires and burns books. Now, it's like post-apocalyptic, I guess. I don't know if that's or dystopian. I'm not sure which is which, because I just like both. But yeah, it's so interesting and it's so well written. But yeah, it was just like, I think the fact that it was the only book I bought, because when I got this from Manchester, I think they do. I used to go to a shop in Manchester called FOP, which is part of HMV. And they used to do 2 for £5 in books, so I think this was like £3. But yeah, one of my favourite reads. In fact, that and that are both from the same shop. So yeah, that's Fahrenheit 451. So all them are my treat books, for fiction. I saw on Mike's channel he added some honourable mentions, and I thought, that's cool. I'm going to do the same, but I've decided I'm going to actually do it with non-fiction books instead. So these are all treat books, for all very different reasons, but all non-fiction. There is one caveat again. I don't have the first book because it's one of them I've been looking for, or I pulled it out to look at it and think I'm going to reread that, and then I can't seem to find it where it is now. And that is, let me have a look at my list, I can't remember I don't want to get the author's name wrong. That is 50 Dead Men Walking by Martin McGartland. So what that book is about, it's about a guy who doesn't really agree with the IRA and then decides to, or gets approached to join the RIA, and then become an undercover guy. So it's very interesting. It's a page turner. It's scary. You're worried about him as you're reading it. Obviously, he got out and read the book, obviously, so that goes without saying, but you're still like, is he going to make it out okay? You know, it's an amazing non-fiction read. If you don't like non-fiction, then I think that out of these 5, if that's the only one you read, it's well worth the read, to be honest. It's just, and it's sad, and it's emotional, and it's scary, and it's horrific, some of the events, but he's also so heroic. It's just brilliant. My friend gave me that book, and it's just wow. Next up, so that's it. So I've got another 4 to go through, as it was 5 treat books. I've done 5 treat books that I didn't like, 5 treat books non-fiction, and I'm doing 5 non-fiction. So that was the first one. So number 2, I've got Prison Writings, My Life is My Sundance by Leonard Peltier. The reason I wanted to read this was because of the band Rage Against the Machine. So they had when they're at Woodstock in, I think, 99, there's a bit where they go, this is for Brother Leonard, who's been incarcerated for 20 years and he's still in prison. And he didn't do it, I can't remember the exact words they used, but it's pretty much that's what it is. But this is basically about Leonard Peltier, who was wrongly arrested, and he's been incarcerated for over 20 years, didn't do it, and also he's now been released on house arrest by Joe Biden recently. But this is just about his story, but obviously, again, it's sad, it's heartfelt, it's amazing, really. So, it's so good, but I really enjoyed it. Next up, another one that was recommended by a band. This is Rosetta. Recommended this on their Audio Tree video they did, where they play live at Audio Tree. This is After Nature by Jedediah Purdy. This is a book about the world and how we live, but how it's not just a problem we have, it's a political problem. It's not just something that's going to go away. It's just, but a lot of it did go over my head, I'm not going to lie. But I feel like I want to reread it. I feel like it's one everyone should try and read, or at least learn about, or it's something we all need to think about, really, I guess. But yeah, it really made me think, and it's such a good book. I definitely want to reread it. And then I'm going to mention that one last. So next up, I've got A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. This was a one I seen Ian Brown reading. I'm not quite sure. I think it might be The Prisoner of Azkaban. I'm not 100% sure on that. But he's like stirring the cup. And I saw him reading this and I was like, I've always wondered what he was reading. I thought, when I find out what he's reading, I'm going to read it. And Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Well, I thought this would be... To be honest with you, I thought, oh, this is just honestly going to go right over my head. But no, I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting. It's so interesting. I can't say how interesting it is because it's bonkers. Because you think, I thought you have to have like really high IQ to enjoy this, but I never once felt like I needed that. So that was really good. And then finally, this is I think the only this is the only reread. So I've read this twice, I think. This was recommended by a friend a while ago, but it's one I've loved and I've recommended it to. So I gave it to a girl at work and she was like reading it in bed, and she said it was really good, but like it's quite harrowing at times. It's quite dark, but it's The Jigsaw Man by Paul Britton. It's about a forensic psychologist. So he looks into crimes. There's real crimes in here. It's not like they actually happened, and you probably could do more research on the crimes if you wanted or whatever. It depends how much you want to take it. But this is such a good book. I cannot recommend this one. If you like true crime, this is the one for you. I mean, you also feel how much the guy, you know, he went into these situations. I don't know if there's a content. No, there's no contents, but it goes straight into it. But you can see the kind of the crimes he worked on are famous as well. But he's so interesting. It's been a while since I've read it. He was in a programme. I think it was a British programme. But he was in that, not him himself, but somebody playing him. I was like, wow. A bit starstruck, I guess, is the wrong word, but kind of like wow. I know him, I've read his book sort of thing, but yeah, it's just so interesting. He's got another one out, but I don't think it's as good. I think it's got Picking Up the Pieces as well, that I'd recommend, but I don't think it's as good as this. I think if you're going to start anywhere, I'd read this one first, because this one's amazing. So yeah. But yeah, but obviously because of the crimes, it's quite a hard one to read. It's not an easy read. It's, you know, it does go into quite a lot of detail, so it's not, you know, I probably would look into that before you read it, but if you like true crime already, I'd definitely recommend it. So that's my trick or treat books for, well, there was 15 in all. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoy what you're reading. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.